Did you know that in Japan, CEOs stay in their roles 3 times longer than their American counterparts? Or that 85% of employees worldwide are not engaged at work? These numbers might surprise you, but they reveal a lot about different leadership styles across cultures. In this video, we'll explore how Eastern and Western leadership styles differ and what we can learn from each. From the ancient wisdom of Confucius to the innovative spirit of Silicon Valley, we'll dive into the strategies that make leaders effective in their unique cultural contexts. You'll discover how Eastern leaders prioritize long-term vision and collective harmony, while Western leaders focus on immediate results and individual achievements. We'll also compare subtle guidance with direct commands and emotional intelligence with analytical precision. Stay tuned as we uncover the secrets behind successful leadership in different parts of the world. By the end of this video, you'll have a deeper understanding of how to blend these approaches for a balanced and effective leadership style. Let's get started. 1. Ancient wisdom versus modern innovation. Foundations of leadership. Eastern and Western leadership styles have deep roots in their respective cultural histories. In the East, leadership is often influenced by Confucianism, which emphasizes respect, hierarchy, and collective harmony. Confucius once said, "The superior man acts before he speaks, and afterwards speaks according to his action." This principle guides many Eastern leaders even today. In contrast, Western leadership draws heavily from Greek rationalism and Roman organizational skills. Leaders are expected to be innovative and decisive. A great example is Alexander the Great, who combined Greek wisdom with practical leadership, creating one of history's largest empires. Modern Eastern leaders often blend ancient philosophies with contemporary practices. For instance, the Japanese concept of kaizen, meaning continuous improvement, is a strategy used by companies like Toyota. Kaizen emphasizes small, incremental changes rather than sweeping reforms, fostering a culture of consistent progress. On the Western front, the emphasis is on innovation and disruption. Silicon Valley epitomizes this with its culture of constant technological advancement. Leaders like Steve Jobs are celebrated for their visionary ideas and willingness to take risks. Jobs famously said, "Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower." A fascinating fact is that Eastern leaders often prioritize long-term stability over quick wins. A study by the Harvard Business Review found that Japanese CEOs tend to have tenures 3 times longer than their American counterparts. This long-term perspective allows for more sustainable growth and development. However, Western leaders are often more focused on quarterly results and immediate success. This approach can drive rapid growth but sometimes at the expense of long-term stability. Amazon's Jeff Bezos exemplifies this with his focus on innovation and market dominance, often sacrificing short-term profits for future gains. Interestingly, the East values collective well-being, while the West prizes individual achievements. This difference in priorities shapes leadership styles significantly. In Eastern companies, leaders often view themselves as caretakers of their employees, fostering a family-like atmosphere. In contrast, Western leaders might focus more on personal success and merit-based advancement. Understanding these foundational differences is crucial for global businesses. It allows leaders to navigate cross-cultural teams more effectively. By blending the strengths of both Eastern wisdom and Western innovation, leaders can create a more balanced and effective approach to leadership. 2. Collective harmony versus individual achievement. Motivating teams. Motivating teams varies significantly between Eastern and Western cultures. In the East, collective harmony is the cornerstone of team dynamics. Leaders strive to create a cohesive group where everyone feels valued. This approach is deeply rooted in the Confucian ideal of Ren, or humaneness, which emphasizes interpersonal relationships and mutual respect. In Japan, for example, the concept of wa, or harmony, is central to workplace culture. Employees often start the day with group exercises or chants to build a sense of unity. A study by McKinsey found that Japanese companies with strong wa have higher employee satisfaction and productivity. Conversely, in the West, individual achievement is often the primary motivator. Leaders encourage personal goals and competition. This approach is based on the belief that individual success drives overall team performance. In the US, performance-based incentives and recognition programs are common strategies to boost motivation. Interestingly, Google's Project Aristotle found that psychological safety, where team members feel safe to take risks and be vulnerable, is crucial for high-performing teams. This aligns with Eastern values of harmony but is implemented in a more individual-focused Western context. A unique aspect of Eastern team motivation is the concept of nemawashi, a Japanese term for building consensus before making decisions. This involves informal discussions to gather input and ensure everyone is on board. It's a slow process but fosters strong team cohesion and commitment. On the other hand, Western leaders often use direct and transparent communication to motivate teams. Open feedback sessions and clear performance metrics help employees understand their roles and expectations. This straightforward approach can drive quick results and foster a competitive spirit. Interestingly, a Gallup poll revealed that 85% of employees worldwide are not engaged at work, highlighting the need for effective motivation strategies. Combining Eastern collective harmony with Western individual achievement can address this issue. For example, leaders can create a supportive environment while also recognizing individual contributions. Cultural understanding is key in multinational teams. A Harvard Business School study found that culturally diverse teams can outperform homogeneous ones if they manage cultural differences well. Leaders who embrace both Eastern and Western motivational strategies can harness the full potential of their teams. Ultimately, the goal is to balance collective well-being with individual success. By appreciating the strengths of both Eastern and Western approaches, leaders can create a motivated, cohesive, and high-performing team. 3. Hierarchy versus equality. Decision-making processes. Decision-making processes vary greatly between Eastern and Western leadership styles. In the East, hierarchy plays a crucial role. Leaders are often seen as authoritative figures whose decisions are rarely questioned. This approach is deeply rooted in Confucian values, where respect for authority and seniority is paramount. A unique example is South Korea's chaebol culture, where family-owned conglomerates operate under strict hierarchical structures. In these organizations, decisions flow from the top down, ensuring clear direction and unified strategy. According to a study by the Korea Development Institute, this hierarchical approach has contributed to the rapid economic growth of South Korea. In contrast, Western leadership often emphasizes equality and inclusivity in decision-making. Leaders encourage open discussions and value input from all levels of the organization. This approach fosters innovation and employee engagement. A good example is Google, where the company promotes a flat organizational structure and encourages employees to share ideas freely. A fascinating fact is that Western companies often implement cross-functional teams to break down hierarchical barriers. This strategy allows for diverse perspectives and collaborative problem-solving. According to the Harvard Business Review, cross-functional teams can boost productivity by up to 25%. Interestingly, in the East, the concept of ringi sho is prevalent in Japan. It's a formal decision-making process where proposals circulate among all relevant parties for approval. This ensures consensus and reduces conflict, but it can also slow down decision-making. On the other hand, Western leaders might use more direct and rapid decision-making processes. The rapid decision-making approach, popularized by companies like Amazon, empowers teams to make swift decisions and iterate quickly. Jeff Bezos calls this Type 2 decisions, which are reversible and should be made quickly to maintain agility. Interestingly, a McKinsey report found that companies with inclusive decision-making processes are 21% more likely to outperform their competitors. This highlights the importance of balancing hierarchy and equality to leverage the strengths of both approaches. A practical strategy for global leaders is to combine hierarchical clarity with inclusive practices. For example, leaders can set clear guidelines and expectations while also creating spaces for open dialogue and feedback. This approach can enhance decision-making efficiency and employee satisfaction. Understanding the cultural context is key. By appreciating the strengths of both hierarchical and egalitarian approaches, leaders can navigate complex global environments more effectively. 4. Subtle guidance versus direct command. Communication styles. Communication styles are another area where Eastern and Western leadership diverge significantly. In the East, leaders often use subtle and indirect communication. This approach minimizes conflict and maintains harmony within the team. A classic example is the Japanese concept of tateme, public facade, versus hon, true feelings. Leaders communicate in a way that preserves face and avoids direct confrontation. In contrast, Western leaders tend to favor direct and explicit communication. They believe in clear, straightforward instructions to avoid misunderstandings. This style is rooted in a culture that values transparency and accountability. A famous quote by Winston Churchill, "If you have an important point to make, don't try to be subtle or clever. Use a pile driver," encapsulates this approach. A unique aspect of Eastern communication is the use of non-verbal cues. Leaders often rely on body language, tone of voice, and context to convey their messages. According to a study by the Journal of Cross-Cultural Psychology, non-verbal communication accounts for 55% of communication in Japan, compared to 35% in the United States. On the other hand, Western leaders emphasize verbal clarity. They use direct language and clear instructions to ensure everyone understands their roles and responsibilities. A study by the Journal of Business Communication found that clear and concise communication can improve team performance by 32%. Interestingly, in China, the concept of guanxi plays a significant role in communication. It's all about building relationships and networks to facilitate smooth communication and business transactions. Leaders spend time cultivating these relationships to ensure effective communication and collaboration. In Western cultures, leaders might use tools like open-door policies to encourage open communication. This strategy fosters an environment where employees feel comfortable sharing their ideas and concerns. According to a Gallup poll, organizations with open communication policies see a 14.9% increase in employee productivity. A practical strategy for leaders is to blend subtle guidance with direct commands. For instance, leaders can provide clear instructions but also pay attention to non-verbal cues and the emotional state of their team members. This balanced approach can enhance understanding and collaboration. Cultural intelligence is crucial in global teams. Leaders who understand and adapt to different communication styles can foster better relationships and improve team performance. By embracing both subtle guidance and direct command, leaders can navigate cross-cultural communication more effectively. 5. Long-term vision versus immediate results. Strategic planning. Strategic planning is another key area where Eastern and Western leadership styles diverge. In the East, leaders often prioritize long-term vision. This approach is rooted in historical and cultural contexts that value patience and sustainability. For example, China's Belt and Road Initiative is a strategic plan that spans decades, aiming to strengthen economic ties across Asia, Europe, and Africa. A famous Chinese proverb, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step," reflects this long-term perspective. Eastern leaders focus on gradual, consistent progress rather than immediate results. This strategy allows for careful planning and sustainable growth. According to a study by the Asian Development Bank, long-term planning has contributed significantly to the economic success of countries like China and Japan. In contrast, Western leaders often emphasize quick wins and immediate results. This approach is driven by a fast-paced business environment where short-term achievements are crucial for maintaining competitive advantage. Companies like Amazon thrive on this strategy, focusing on rapid innovation and market responsiveness. Jeff Bezos once said, "We are stubborn on vision. We are flexible on details." This mindset encapsulates the balance between long-term goals and immediate actions. A unique aspect of Eastern strategic planning is the concept of shakunin, a Japanese term that means artisan or craftsman. It represents a commitment to excellence and mastery over time. This philosophy drives leaders to invest in long-term quality and continuous improvement. A report by the Japan Productivity Center highlights how this approach has led to the global success of Japanese industries. On the other hand, Western strategic planning often involves agile methodologies. This approach breaks down large projects into smaller, manageable tasks that can be completed quickly. Agile strategies are highly adaptable, allowing companies to pivot and respond to market changes efficiently. According to the Project Management Institute, organizations that use agile methodologies are 28% more successful in their projects. Interestingly, a study by McKinsey found that companies with a balanced approach to strategic planning, combining long-term vision with short-term actions, outperform their peers by 20%.